What you're about to experience are my opinions and truths. I'm suggesting these possibilities for you to consider, enabling you to come up with your own conclusions. Ladies and gentlemen, fellow decoders around the world, wherever you may be, my name is Logan, your tour guide, and this is Decode Your Reality, and today we're going to be breaking down and decoding the topic. As above, so below. As above, so below, decoded, and the intro with the skeletons dancing on the checkerboard or the chessboard floor. No, ladies and gentlemen, it has nothing to do with masonry. It has nothing to do with any organization. What it has to do is with our reality. We live in a dualistic reality. We live in a on-off, 1-2, black, white, hot, cold, left, right reality. And what runs this reality is the as above. You could say that the as above is the black and the so below is the white, or the as above is the white and the so below is the black. I feel everything comes from the black. If you study theology and God said, "Let there be light," indicates that black came first, which is why I have the black sphere in the letter O dripping down. Okay. The as above dripping down into the so below. So we can do the yin yang here with this as above, so below in the dualistic nature itself. And as above has a duality to it, so below has a duality to it, if you want to look at it that way. So let's jump into this presentation, ladies and gentlemen. I'm going to get right into it. No topics. We're just going to rifle through these graphics. I'm going to start with the language of Hebrew. We're going to take the language of Hebrew and we're going to use it for this presentation. You can see the word above in Hebrew and the word below in Hebrew. Okay, the conversion of that. And then we just simply connect chemistry to the words that we get through numerology. This is kind of alchemology, if you will. I also have the letter Shin here. This is the 21st letter in the Hebrew called Shin. You notice the sphere over the right cleft. This is where you're going to get shalom from, as above. And then you have the same letter Shin, but now it's pronounced Sin. And the sphere goes over the left cleft, so below. That's what we're going to be highlighting for this presentation. I want you to notice that the word Elohim has the same numerology as above. It's very interesting that Elohim has the same exact outcome as above. And you know, when we take chemistry and we bring this into the numerology, you can see that the element potassium has the 41 isotope, the 19th element. And the reason why I have the sun here is because, of course, the 19th card in the tarot is the sun. So this is why the sun is measured in Kelvin. This is called Callium. Okay. So the as above being represented by the sun, and then the so below being represented by calcium. Calcium having an isotope number 43, one of its stable isotopes. It's got 20 protons. And now you get the dancing skeletons. These calcium is what is in our bones and teeth. And when we become a human being, spirit into matter, we start to do sinning. So we have good and we have evil. And we're going to talk about that with this presentation. So moving forward here, ladies and gentlemen, we can see when we do as above, so below, in Chaldean numerology, the oldest numerology cipher, it's the number 58, which matches the two elements from Hebrew, which represent above and below. How about that? 58, potassium and calcium. As above, so below. It's the sun, and it is matter. It is spirit coming into matter, and we become a dancing skeleton. Okay? So this is what we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about some yin yang here, ladies and gentlemen. As above, so below. What happens as above happens so below. So within, so without. It's the yin yang. The yin and the yang, duality in this as above, so below reality, playing out. To the right, we have the paradise. Everything in Hebrew starts to the right and ends to the left. Destruction. And that's what we're going to talk about for this example here with the letter Shin in Hebrew. So this is going to be the highlight for this. Shin, the 21st letter, is where you're going to get shalom. Notice the emphasis on the shalom, Shin. And then you have sin, shalom. That's the difference. And then the sphere over the cleft of the right and left hand sides. Right hand path, shalom, good. Left hand path, sin, bad, evil, ra. Shalom ra. We get the eye of shalom ra. As above, so below. So this is where it comes from. ChatGPT coming out with the big standouts here. Read with me the narration. The difference between Shin and Sin in Hebrew is determined by the placement of the dot. Shin, the dot is placed on the right-hand side, and Sin on the left. So the subtle change alters the pronunciation of the letter. The letter remains the same. So it's always going to be the 21st letter in the Hebrew alphabet. But the emphasis and the pronunciation changes. This is how Hebrew works, the multifaceted aspects of Hebrew. And the 21, ladies and gentlemen, in the tarot is the world card. The world card is the 21st card in the tarot. And this starts off with shalom, which is good, and sin, which is bad, destruction. You literally have Brahma, Vishnu, Shiva, because Hinduism is the same thing as Judaism. There's no difference. You just got to coordinate and figure out how they all connect. Shiva is the destroyer, destroys the sin. Brahma is Shalom, the creation. And then Vishnu sits in the very center, the in-between point. So what's interesting about this 21 is that the word Ra, if I go to, where's my numerology at? If I go to numerology and we type in the word Ra, there's the 2 and the 1. Ra becomes the 2 and the 1. Let me just move this here. There we go. Which is this. So Ra is the aspect of Shalom and sin. And we can say that as above, so below. We could say that, right? But of course, as above mirrors the so below, and the so below mirrors the as above. But we're getting into the aspects of this. Are you following me right now? Okay. So, who made this thing really popular was Leonard Nimoy. In the show Star Trek, he did the Vulcan salutation. You can see his hand right there. And this is the Shin letter. Even in this right here, Leonard Nimoy, who is Jewish, based it on the priestly blessing right here. And it's two of them. You're doing two of them side by side. It even has its own Unicode in the computer system. So some of you want to go deeper, you go start to research that. So here are the two hand signals. Essentially, we could say the as above, so below, because as above is shalom, which means good. This is when it's operating at its highest level. And we're talking about opposites. And then we have the sinning, to destroy. The so below. As above, so below. And there's his hand signal right there. Okay? Right there. So, we're going to get into some tarot now. And we're going to look at it. Maybe you've never seen this before. But the Devil card, which represents Earth, has Shalom on its right hand. Clear as day, that is Shalom, because this is representing as above. And the energy from as above comes down to the so below. So this is going to be Shalom. Now, wait a minute. How is the devil attracted to good? Well, because the devil runs this reality. In the context, when you read all this kind of stuff, well, this is what you're looking at. As above, so below. Now, when you go deeper into this, since this is the 15th card in the deck, I can look at the 15th card in the Hebrew alphabet right here. It's called Samek. And the numerology in Hebrew gematria is the number 60. Notice the emphasis on 60, as in sin, 60. It's not 60, it's 60. 60 is tied to the head of the snake. This is the head of the snake, if you've been paying attention. And it's the 15th letter. Of course, 1 plus 5 is 6. Okay? This is how you connect all of this stuff. And it goes way beyond the Aramaic Hebrew. You go all the way back to the Phoenician. You got to go deeper and deeper, and it's going to get to the Egyptian. So it's just a baton passing, cultural, enriched society that we live in. Okay, that's all it is. Now, what's interesting about the devil card being tied to shalom and sin. Shalom, good, as above. Bringing down, that's why there's fire here, folks. There's no fire here. Fire's right here. Well, you can notice that when you bring it into the cards of illumination, the 15th card in the cards is the 2 of clubs. This is the card of the futurist. So when you look at this futurist card in the tarot, you'll notice that this individual is holding on with his left hand, meaning this hand. Because when you land on Earth, you're coming from the as above down to the so below, where we are. And now this person, through this Rider-Waite deck, is holding on to the aspect of sin, the left-hand path. Because in Hebrew, it goes from right to left, from right to left. As above, so below. Okay? So, when we start to look at the aspects even deeper with Hebrew. And we look from the right to the left. Okay, when we look from the right to the left, you'll notice in Hebrew, both of these, right and left, are the 11-11. And I will remind all of you that in NFL football, there are 11 men on offense and 11 men on defense. We have offense, defense, or vice versa. 11-11. And then we have the 22. And of course, 22 is tied to the word recycle. There are 22 letters in the total aspect of the Hebrew alphabet. How about that? All 22 letters are going to fit in the devil card, if you want to look at it this way. Okay, from the left to the right. Okay, so to recap this, we have your right hand in here. It's always right to left, shalom to the right, sin to the left. Okay, right to left, and that mark right there is the determining factor of whether or not you read. So a little bit of Hebrew, right? Like if you see that, it starts with sha, and this is sin, 6. Okay, that's the difference between these two marks when you're doing the pronunciation of Hebrew. All right. So where does it fit into the flower of life? This is a rendition of the flower of life. I've left this cleft off right here. There should be one right there as well. But there's a reason why I left it off, and that's because this is one side of the flower of life, a complete flower of life. One side, one side. And this is where you're going to get Jesus in theology, fishing with the disciples and telling them to cast the boats to the right side of the boat. Okay? Not the left, to the right. Shalom. Cast your nets to the good side of the boat. This one. And we know that the 153 in the measurements of the Vesica Piscis, which is this right here, has a 153 degree span, the square root of 3. Okay? In that context. So we could take the brain, because that's what the flower of life is. We could take the brain and we could put it underneath the flower of life. And then we can start to measure this with even the calculator or dial pad on your phone. And we could see this is where Jesus talking to the disciples, and they're going to go fishing. Cast your nets to the right side of the boat, because right in Hebrew is beginning. The left is ending. So to go back to the beginning is the right side of the boat, and it's the 963. And remember that 9 plus 6 plus 3 is the number 18. So all I have to do is go back to numerology, and I just type in the word Jesus, and that's 18. I can type in the word Christ, and that's 18. 9 plus 6 is 15, and 15 plus 3 is 18. And the right side of your brain is where the emotions are being interpreted. Right? Love, feeling. That's why there was a lot of love your brother, do this kissing, this and that. Because it was in tapping into your emotional state. Right? The way you feel about this reality. Shalom, good. Emotions, love, compassion. Whereas the left-hand side was kind of more the opposite of that. Okay? Service to, you could even say service to self, service to others, service to self. You could say that as well. Okay? But make no mistake about it, ladies and gentlemen, it doesn't matter what side of the brain you use both sides. And the as above's using the so below. And the so below is the brain. This is your Ark of the Covenant. And in Chaldean numerology, when you reduce it all the way down, left and right, which is the left and right hemispheres of your brain, is going to give you the number 8. And you can see this is where the infinity symbol sits over this. The brain is the so below, feeding the as above. And I've placed the serpent with the Y, and this is where I feel the branching off happens. This is going to be tied to the pineal gland, as well as more like the thalamus. Thalamus having two sides. And here are the left and right hemispheres of your brain. Male, female, right? You could do that too. I mean, if you go back here, the emotions, that's more feminine. Using your feminine side of your brain. And then more of the masculine side of the brain. Okay? And there's the male-female aspect. But this forms the prison in this reality. And I say prison with a light heart. I'm not saying it's a bad thing. Because when I say prison, a lot of you like, that means bad. Not necessarily. Okay? It doesn't necessarily correlate to what it means. So even the French occultist Stanislas, probably butchered that, de Guatta, from his Le Clef de la Maginori, 1897, probably butchered that. That's French. This right here is the representation of the as above. And why I wanted to present this is not only is it the pentagram and the Yod He Vav He is on here, but you can see at the very top at the crown position, the crown is Shin, because that's what the letter Shin is. It's the crown. Remember, this means Ra. It's the letter W in the English alphabet. So we're going to get WWW. Triple crown winner in sports. I mean, there's so many connections here. But this was worthy of noting. Okay, and then you're going to get the flip side of that, where you're going to do the upside down pentagram. But I thought this was very, very interesting to note here. So I'm going to go back here. I'm going to go back where we started from. And the word above, 41. The words below, 43. Again, the above tied to the Elohim. And Shalom and Sin. Okay? Sin. And I'm going to go back to these right here. Once again. And we're going to dive a little bit deeper into this. And you can see how potassium and calcium, which we know they equal the number 58, right? As above, so below. 37 and 21 is 58. So the potassium and calcium found from the above and the below in Hebrew, connecting it to alchemology. Alchemology is numerology and alchemy together. But you can see how eye in the sky is a match to potassium. And potassium has got the 41, and the 41 is tied to the above in Hebrew. See the connections there? No brainer there. Potassium is the sun. This is again why it's measured, why it's called Callium. Well, the sun is measured in Kelvin. Kelvin. And then the so below, the below word is 43, and now we get a bag of bones, the dancing skeleton on the checkerboard floor. 20. And this is so significant because 20 in numerology is tied to these words right here. Duality. It's tied to where you get a birthday. It's tied to where you get a piece of matter. All 20s. It's where you become a pawn. A pawn. The calcium. And we are, our bones and teeth are made up of calcium. Okay. This also, if you really want to go deep in this, if you add up the neutrons, protons, and electrons, 20 and the 43 is 63. And what is 63 in numerology? Non-player character. Oh, I know, but not you though. I'm just having fun with this. Have a light heart. Non-player character, 63. Just like this right here. How about this one? Commander-in-Chief. Who's the Commander-in-Chief? The President. Well, you think the President gets a hall pass on being a non-player character? Absolutely not. 20 plus 43 is 63. Non-player character tied to the bag of bones, tied to you and I as the skeleton on the chessboard in the so below. So when we continue to go forward into this, ladies and gentlemen, you can see as above, so below is tied to the word puppet master. Whatever the puppet master is, controlling the so below is running the as above. And to make it crystal clear, it's the Eight of Swords. My birth card of all things. One of the reasons why I'm here to show you this. This is the trapped and limited. This means that you're being controlled by the hand that runs you. That's what you're being run by. And the Eight of Swords, card 58, comes from the Eight of Spades, which is card 47. And all I have to remember the 47. All I have to do is go back here and we type in scripted reality. 47. We live in a scripted reality. And the as above controls the so below through a non-player character position. The as above runs the so below. And it's the puppet master. So many different ways to look at this. This is tied to the sons of God as well. Let us make man in our image. Okay? Genesis 1 verses 26. If you want to bring theology into this, I can go all day long with this, for sure. So, when you look at the calcium again, to show you what creates this reality, well, you can see calcium is 21. That's where the action's at. Lights, camera, action. We create the action down here. But it's being controlled by the eye in the sky, which is the as above, right there, which is tied to the sun. Remember I don't know if you remember all the way back, if you've been paying attention, you remember the 3.141 pi, the 1937-46? That loop, it's tied to this right here, 1937 and then the 46. Okay, but it's the action. We create the bag of bone. We create the action down here, being controlled. Okay, so you can see that it's lights, camera, action, and it's spirit into matter. It's the sun becoming. That's why, if you notice here, this skeleton, which is representing you and I, we don't give off any light at all. I don't care if you think you're a light worker. If you sit in a pitch black room, there's no light that you're giving off. Zero. Now, you may be able to do it under a thermal microscope or imaging process, but the naked eye, you will be black. You work for the light. The light runs you. It's the sun becoming. It's spirit into matter. This is the 56 card in the tarot to give us the picture. This is spirit traversing across the water to become matter. This is tied to Genesis 1 verses 2. The Spirit of God moved across the face of the waters. Okay. And there's so many ways you can study this from the perspective of physics. With this right here. So, you can see how we now have spirit into matter, and we have as above, so below. We have spirit, 19, the sun, and then the sun moving into matter. And there it is. Spirit, as above, moving into matter, so below. And when you're in the so below, ladies and gentlemen, you're subject to being polarized. That's what these white and black squares represent. Polarization. Positive and negative. Good cop, bad cop. Love and fear. That's what you're subject to when you become a bag of bones. Okay. And again, just to show you how the Hebrews connected right to the Chaldean, is that we have spirit 19 protons. We have above being 41. There's the 41. And then we have matter being 20 tied to the 20 protons of calcium. And then 43 for the below and the isotope 43. Okay, the neutrons and protons together, the 43. All right, so these are no-brainers here, I would say. All right, so let's get a little bit more into the shalom and sin. And let's look at this a little bit deeper. Okay, let's take a look at this right here. So I'm going to now reference a big scripture in Revelation. And, you know, if you've watched anything of Dr. Eamon Hillman's stuff, this is where I feel that he fails to mention this scripture. Is he talks about the church of Laodicea and Jesus talking about putting eye salve, but he doesn't give you the full narrative. But what this says here, clearly in Revelation 3 verses 15, Jesus speaking, Jesus says, I know your deeds. That you're not hot or cold, that you're not shalom or sin. You're not either one of these. I wish you were either one or the other. This is what Jesus is saying. Jesus says, if you want to play this game, I wish you were either this one, good, or evil. Because if you are neither one, I am going to spit you out of my mouth. That is Revelation 3 verses 16. If you're in the middle, if you're lukewarm, you're like, I don't want to play anymore. It's like just the rope-a-dope. It gets good, it gets bad. It gets good, it gets bad. It gets good, it gets bad. Some of you don't want to come back and play this as above rope-a-dope game anymore. This is the game of Jesus, by the way. Jesus being the devil. Same character. How can it not be? See, Jesus needs you to reincarnate so it has more players on the board. The contract between evil has a definitive with the contract of good. The contract is between evil and good. Good and bad, destruction and creation, Brahma and Shiva. If you study Hinduism cosmology, it's the same thing. That's what this whole thing means right here. And again, I'm not saying it's bad because the game of life, this game that we're playing out, is pretty badass. It's pretty amazing, right? Like to wake up and look at this beautiful mountain range with the sun here shining and be able to go down this river and fish in the river and swim in the river. Life's pretty badass. But of course, when it gets destructive, and it gets nasty, and you have suffering going on, that's the part that none of you like. None of us like this part. But that is part of life because you can't have one without the other. And that's exactly what Jesus was referencing right here, is if you're not with me, you're against me, but you got to choose. And then 3 verses 16 says, because you're lukewarm, I'm going to spit you out of my mouth. I have no use for you anymore. That's how I feel in the interpretation of this scripture is all about. Because the Bible is about reincarnation. The Bible is about the Son becoming. Right? Spirit into matter. That's what the Bible's about. The spirit into matter. So if you don't want to play anymore and you want to get out, well, there's the lukewarm in 3 verses 16 in Revelation. And the as above rope-a-dope reality you'll be free from, clear from. Now what it looks like beyond that, I couldn't tell you. Okay? So when we look at this from the simple perspective of taking your dial pad on your phone, the calculator, over to the right-hand side, which is shalom, which is good, you have the green and the beautification and the paradise. Right? And this may just be what Jesus is talking about. Follow me into the paradise and you'll get reincarnated back into the paradise. But of course, the paradise can't stay this way. It can't sustain this down here in duality because there has to be death in order for this ecosystem to sustain itself. There has to be earthworms, there has to be scavengers and vultures, and there has to be death in this scenario. This can't sustain itself like this. It must go through this. And then you have the opposite, which is sin. Shalom, sin. Shalom, sin. And somebody has to do the sinning. Somebody has to work for this team. You have demon, angel. Angel, demon. Angel, demon. Angel, demon. Right? Creation, destruction. Brahma, Shiva. Brahma, Shiva. You see, that's why Lucifer, these are the numbers of Lucifer, they are tied to Shiva the destroyer. Brahma, Shiva. Generate, destroy. Here is the operation. Vishnu is the middle path. Vishnu is the middle path, ladies and gentlemen. Vishnu. Just from the simple aspect of looking at this letter Shin and studying the as above and so below. Okay? Start, end. Beginning, end. On, off. Hot, cold. Same thing. All these terminologies that we use, that's what they mean. But make no mistake about it, the left-hand path is the path of Lucifer, the path of sinning, the path of Shiva the destroyer. And there are people that incarnate that's what their job is. So when you get good and you stop judging, well, stop judging. Oh, it's Luciferian, it's this and that. Yeah, well, without the Luciferian, you wouldn't know what this is. But here you are judging this sector of the way of life. Folks, we live in a dualistic reality. Hot and cold. Cold or hot, whatever way you want to look at it. Shalom, sin. Okay? Same letter, different meaning. Okay? So you can see how I flipped the devil card here. I flipped it so you can see it, from the perspective of looking up in the mirror here. Here is the right-hand path, right? And here's the left-hand path. The left-hand path tied to these, according to Manly P. Hall, and I can confirm this now with the research, this is the path of Lucifer, this is the path of sin, the serpent, and Shiva the destroyer. You get Prometheus in here, you get Pluto in here. So many different ways to look at this. And then, of course, I love the ancient proverb, when the game is over, the king and pawn go back in the same box. So whatever your role is, well, that's what you're going to live through. But this is the path of the sin. The burning, the fire, the worldly desires. We know the 15th letter is Samek. You can see it. Look at it. It's the O. The symbol of the O. The 15th letter in the English is O. The O. Okay, so we're getting on to the tail end of this here. And read with me the narration at the top there. It says, in Jewish mystical traditions, the letter Shin is often referred to as a crown letter. This is due to its connection with divine names and the concept of rulership or power. The three branches of Shin are sometimes seen as symbolizing the three pillars of the tree of life and Kabbalah, representing balance, wisdom, and understanding. The crown-like shape also links it to the Shema prayer, Shema, and the presence of God. Shema Shalom, same pronunciation. The letter's unique role emphasizes its sacred and powerful nature in Hebrew mysticism. Remember the 21st letter. This is the 21st letter. What's the 21st letter? In the English, it's a letter U, as in Uranus. Uranus. Okay? The U. So, I'm going to go and I'm going to talk about this Shema prayer now, since that's what this is tied to finish this decode up. So here it is. The Shema prayer is a central declaration of faith in Judaism, affirming the oneness. This is the key, the oneness of God. Deuteronomy 6 verses 4 through 9. Hear, O Israel, the Lord our God, the Lord is one. So now you get into monotheism. But I don't even think that's even it. But it's a Ponzi scheme, so it's irrelevant. So here's the word one in Hebrew. Aleph all the way down to Daleth. One. Pronounced differently, of course, but you can see that it's a 184 or a 481. From the singularity perspective, the total is 13. 13 is going to reduce down to the number 4. And why I'm highlighting this, this is the Lord is one. It's got the 1, the 8, and the 4 here for its numerology, which is absolutely mind-blowing, because when you go back to my Eye of Shalom Ra Decoded, which was peace and evil, there is the mathematics for the all-seeing eye of Shalom Ra, which is the flower of life. The flower of life, the measurements of the vesica piscis, which is 2 circles intertwined, which are the formation that begins the flower of life, is 153 across and 265 degrees vertically. 265 vertical, 153 horizontally, and that adds up to the number 418. And of course, the 418 is right there. It doesn't have to be exact on the way these numbers express themselves. So the Lord is one. Yeah, the Lord is the eye of Shalom Ra. It may be dualistic, but the Lord is one in this context here. And this is the two intertwining of circles. And now we have a big connection tied to, once again, the God of the Bible being Ra. Because Ra means radius. And radius is a circle. And the circle creates the matrix. This is the matrix right here. 17. Even Yod-Heh-Vah-Heh in Chaldean. Let me just show this to you. Even this. That's 17. Even if I do the V in H, that's a 17. And you can see that the word angel is 17. And the word life is 17. And the word story is 17. And the word matrix is 17. Okay? This is where the story comes from. This is the womb. The matrix. That's it right there. And it's the one. The one. This. But of course it's dualistic because it has a peace and evil concept to it. As above, so below. So are you seeing this? With this 418. I think it's undeniable that these numbers are here for the Lord is one. And it's tied to shalom. Which shalom is good. But of course, when it's time to remove, it's Ra, evil, calamity, as above, so below. So, the letter Shin in the Hebrew, you can see where it comes from in the Phoenician. This is the studies that I do, and I hope that all of you do too. What is the etymology of Shin? Where does it come from? Well, again, it's the crown, right? The triple crown, it's the W. And this is where we're going to get WWW for the internet. This is what's coming for the world stage. And the W is the 23rd letter in the English alphabet. And this is a big deal, right? The 23. Because we get these words like this right here. We get the word blood. We get the word player. We get the word women, excuse me. Women create the players. That was players, that's what it was. Players, yeah, players. Plural. The 23. You're a player. When you come through this eye, you become a player through the shalom and sin. That's what you become. You become a player here. And it's as above, so below. And we're in the so below, in the sin. Trying to make shalom out of this. Living in a life of polarity. Being polarized. But it all comes from that eye. Okay? It all comes from that eye right here. And I really feel like this, if you watched my Eye of Shalom Ra, this is like a big ball that surrounds the earth. All these flowers of life. And this is all the eyes watching over us. And it's Ra. Ra meaning radius, meaning the circle. And the Vesica Piscis fitting in there. Or Pisces fitting in there, whatever you want to do. So, get to the tail end of this, ladies and gentlemen. You can see that we confirm that the Lord is one. And we have the word one here in Hebrew. And that's a 13. But the 13th letter in the Hebrew is called Mem. And this is one of the three mother letters in Hebrew. The other is Shalom, Mem, and Aleph. These are the two, depending on how you put them inside of a sentence. These two are both Mem. It's very interesting. So we have two of them. And these two, again, depending on how you put these in a sentence, they become the 26. And that is the Yod. You see. And the Yod obviously is Ra. Hello? It has to be. How can it be any other way? I don't think, and the letter Z in the English alphabet is the 26. the Alpha and Omega. There's so many different clues here. But the Yod to me has to be Ra. And that's tied to the sun. And the sun this is why Psalms 84 verses 11, the Lord God is a sun and shield. That's the moon. That's why it's I am that I am. And in the burning bush, that's fire. Sun. Okay? The sun becoming, spirit into matter. That's what we're playing out in this reality of As Above, So Below. So there you go, ladies and gentlemen. As Above, So Below Decoded. What did you see? Did you see something beyond what I showed? I would love to hear your comments. Keep them coming. Just keep them cordial. It's all about loving here. You don't have to agree, but, you know, it's all about live and let live in here. So if you have a shitty comment, a negative, nasty comment, I promise you it'll get deleted. Just save yourself the time. You don't have to agree, but just be cool about it. That's all I ask. That's it. So anyway, ladies and gentlemen, that's all I got for today. My name is Logan for Decode Your Reality. Until next time, we will see you later.